3 years ago, I moved back home after college with a promise that it would only be temporary, a year to save money and get my footing. That was the plan at least. But here I am, still living under the same roof, paying rent, splitting groceries, covering repairs when the plumbing bursts, and bailing mom out of her surprise credit card debt more times than I can count. My name is Nathan, and for 3 long years, I've been the silent backbone of this family while everyone else seemed content to lean on me. My parents, Robert and Sarah, are good people in their own way. They work hard, they care about us, but somewhere along the line, they stopped seeing me as their son and started treating me like an ATM. And then there's Liam, my younger brother, the golden child who never quite grew up. At 30 years old, he lives rent-free in the basement, sleeps until noon, and spends his days chasing one failed venture after another. Dropshipping? Failed. YouTube stardom? Abandoned. Crypto scams? Lost $15,000 before lunch. Yet somehow, every time he crashes and burns, mom and dad swoop in with excuses. He just needs time, or you're the older brother, Nathan. You should lead by example. But leading by example apparently means footing the bill for Liam's endless parade of bad ideas. It means working 60-hour weeks in IT support while Liam posts #grind mode selfies from the couch. It means skipping vacations, skipping sleep, skipping any semblance of balance in my life so I can finally get ahead, only to have them turn around and demand even more. The tension reached its breaking point one morning over breakfast. The scene played out like something from a sitcom, except no one was laughing. My dad glanced up briefly from his tablet, not even bothering to look me in the eye. "Sell your car," he said flatly. "Your brother's loan won't pay itself." I froze mid-step on my way to the fridge, the bottle of orange juice still clutched in my hand. "Sorry, what?" He shrugged like I was being unreasonable. "Liam's trying to get his business off the ground. He's got a lot on his shoulders right now." "A lot on his shoulders?" I snapped, incredulous. "Or a lot of debt because he refuses to grow up?" Mom sighed dramatically from behind the stove. "Nathan, you're in it. You make good money. All Liam needs is a little support." Support. That word again. Their favorite euphemism for money. As if throwing cash at Liam's problems would magically fix everything. Meanwhile, I'd sacrificed everything, my social life, my free time, my sanity, to keep this house running smoothly. And now, after 3 years of grinding, they had the audacity to raise my rent by 80% and ask me to sell my car for Liam's sake? "You just raised my rent," I said coldly. "Remember that?" Dad waved a dismissive hand. "And you're still paying less than you would anywhere else." "Oh great," I shot back. "Let's raise it another 80% and call it a charity drive." Silence. Awkward, heavy silence. Then Dad, without missing a beat, "You've always been good with money, Nathan." Right. Because I actually worked for it. While Liam slept till noon and dreamed of becoming the next Elon Musk, I spent 6 years building a career from scratch. No debt, no handouts, no shortcuts. Just relentless effort and sacrifice. Yet here we were, me pouring everything I had into this family while Liam floated through life like a ghost haunting our basement. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the floor. For the first time, I let myself really think about how much I'd given and how little I'd received in return. They didn't love me for who I was. They loved the version of me that made their lives easier. The responsible one. The reliable one. The human ATM. But deep down, I knew something had shifted inside me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Done carrying the weight of this family on my shoulders. Done pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. And soon enough, they'd find out exactly what done looked like. It was 4 days after the eviction notice, and the house had fallen into a tense, brittle silence. My parents avoided me like I was radioactive, while Liam barricaded himself in his room, muttering under his breath whenever he passed my door. The air felt heavy like the calm before a storm I knew would hit sooner rather than later. But what I didn't expect was how quickly the next betrayal would come crashing down. I was sitting at the kitchen table late one night, scrolling through emails on my laptop when my phone buzzed. A notification flashed across the screen. Message request from Alyssa. Alyssa, Liam's ex-girlfriend. The name alone made my stomach churn. She hadn't reached out since their breakup months ago, so why now? Against my better judgment, I clicked accept. Her message was short but loaded with intent. "Hey Nathan, I know this is weird, but you need to see something. Can we meet?" Suspicion prickled at the back of my neck. What could she possibly want? Still, curiosity got the better of me. We agreed to meet the following evening at a quiet cafe downtown. When I arrived, she was already seated, clutching a manila folder that looked worn at the edges. Her face was pale, her hands trembling slightly as she slid it across the table toward me. "I'm sorry," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't easy for me either." Inside the folder were documents, emails, loan agreements, bank statements, all bearing my name, my signature, my email address, even my phone number. But none of them were real. They were forged. Liam had impersonated me to secure a new loan, one I knew nothing about until that moment. The world tilted beneath me. My chest tightened as if someone had punched me square in the gut. You co-signed? Alyssa asked hesitantly. No, I said sharply, shaking my head. Well, not recently. He told me he needed help refinancing an old loan. I refused. This. I gestured at the papers, anger bubbling inside me. This is fresh. He forged everything. Alyssa nodded grimly. He lied to me too. Told me you'd agreed to sign again. That's why I called him out. Turns out he didn't even ask. You were never part of the conversation. For a long moment I just stared at the documents, my mind racing. How far was he willing to go? What else had he done behind my back? And worse, how could my own family let this happen? Did they know? Or did they simply choose not to care? The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. It wasn't just Liam, it was all of them. Every time they demanded more from me, every time they justified his failures with excuses, they enabled this. They let him use me, abuse me, treat me like some endless resource to be drained dry. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in my room staring at the wall, replaying every sacrifice I'd made over the years. The rent payments, the grocery runs, the nights spent fixing the plumbing instead of relaxing. All those times I swallowed my resentment because I thought it was the right thing to do. For what? So Liam could fake his way through life while everyone else applauded his effort? They loved the version of me that made their lives easier. I muttered aloud, the words bitter on my tongue. And suddenly, clarity hit me like a lightning bolt. I wasn't going to fix this mess quietly anymore. No more bending over backward for people who didn't deserve it. If Liam wanted to play CO, fine, but he wasn't doing it on my dime. Or my identity. The next morning I called a lawyer. Together, we reviewed the documents Alyssa had given me. Every signature. Every forged email trail. The evidence was damning. This is textbook forgery, the lawyer said, flipping through the pages. Possibly fraud depending on what he used the money for. You have grounds to press charges if you want. Charges. The word echoed in my head. Part of me recoiled at the idea, suing my own brother? But another part, the angrier, more exhausted part, relished it. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I deserved justice. Over the next few days, I immersed myself in preparation. I gathered every piece of evidence I could find. Bank statements, mortgage records, legal forms. Anything that proved I was no longer complicit in their games. And then I started drafting the final step, the eviction notice. Printing it out felt surreal. Watching the ink dry on the crisp white paper, I realized this wasn't just a document, it was a declaration. A line drawn in the sand. A promise to myself that I wouldn't carry their weight anymore. By the time Liam's big day rolled around, I was ready. His launch party, a ridiculous spectacle of self-promotion, was set to take place in our backyard. Balloons, speakers, rented chairs. He'd even printed t-shirts with some meaningless slogan about grit and resilience. As I tucked the sealed envelope into my pocket, I allowed myself a small smile. This wasn't just an eviction notice. It was a reckoning. The morning of Liam's big day arrived with an almost unbearable weight in the air. The backyard had been transformed into a circus of self-promotion, balloons tied to rented chairs, speakers blasting generic motivational music, and a banner that read Resilience Redefined, Be Your Own Hero, draped across the fence. Liam strutted around in a hoodie emblazoned with his own logo, barking orders at Dad, who was struggling to align the grill, and Mom, who nervously arranged plastic champagne flutes on a folding table. Guests trickled in, neighbors, acquaintances, random people Liam had met online, and they all milled about awkwardly, unsure why they were there but too polite to leave. I watched from the kitchen window, sipping coffee from my mug that ironically said problem solver. It wasn't lost on me how fitting it felt. Outside, Liam stood center stage, microphone in hand, delivering what he clearly thought was an inspirational speech about grit, perseverance, and chasing dreams. He thanked his support system, gesturing vaguely toward our parents, then paused dramatically for applause. That was my cue. I stepped outside, envelope in hand, just as the clapping began. The sound died instantly when I approached Liam, cutting through the crowd like a blade slicing tension. Without a word, I handed him the envelope. His smirk faltered, confusion flickering across his face. "What's this?" he asked, his voice tinged with forced confidence. "Your surprise?" I said flatly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Liam opened the envelope, scanning the contents. His expression shifted rapidly, from disbelief to anger to outright panic. The murmurs among the guests grew louder as he flipped open the letter again, his hands trembling. Dad hurried over, brows furrowed, while Mom froze mid-toast, her glass suspended in midair. "To move out," I clarified, my voice steady and clear. "You have 30 days. "You're joking," Liam stammered, flipping the page again as if hoping it would change. "You can't evict us." "Oh, I can," I replied coolly. "This is my property. Bought it 6 months ago, in my name only. You're not tenants, you're liabilities. And I'm done carrying your debt while you play CO in a hoodie." The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. Dead silence followed. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. Every pair of eyes turned to me, some wide with shock, others narrowed in judgment. Liam's face flushed red as he tried to save face. You can't do this," he shouted, his voice cracking under the pressure. "You're my brother. You're supposed to help me." "I did," I shot back, my tone icy. "I helped you become someone who's never had to be accountable. But I'm done." Mom gasped audibly, clutching her chest as though she'd been struck. "Nathan, how could you talk to him like that?" I turned to her, meeting her gaze head-on. "The same way you talked to me when you called me selfish for refusing to sell my car? The same way you treated me like a walking wallet?" Dad stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "You're embarrassing this family." For the first time in years I laughed, not bitterly but genuinely. "This family is an embarrassment. And I'm done pretending otherwise." Liam crumpled the letter in his fist, desperation seeping into his voice. "You don't understand. I need more time. Just give me a chance." "No," I said firmly. "You've had chances. Years of them. And every single one ended with me picking up the pieces. Not anymore." He looked around at the crowd, searching for allies but found none. The guests shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. Some whispered among themselves, others simply stared, stunned by the spectacle unfolding before them. Liam's carefully constructed facade crumbled, leaving behind nothing but shame and fear. "You owe us," he yelled, his voice breaking. "You're my brother." "I don't owe you anything," I replied, my voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. "And neither does anyone else. If you want to survive, learn to stand on your own 2 feet instead of leeching off others." With that, I turned on my heel and walked back toward the house. Behind me, the murmurs erupted into chaos. Liam shouting accusations, Mom sobbing quietly, Dad trying vainly to restore order. But I didn't look back. I reached the door, pulled it open, and stepped inside. The sound of the door slamming shut echoed through the house, final and unyielding, a punctuation mark to everything I'd endured and everything I was leaving behind. The days following the eviction notice were eerily quiet. The house, once filled with chaos and noise, now felt hollow, like a shell waiting to collapse. My parents tiptoed around me as if I might explode at any moment. No more demands for money, no more guilt trips about family loyalty. For the first time in years they treated me with something resembling respect, or perhaps fear. Either way, it was a change. Mom spent hours locked in her room, clutching a bottle of wine like it was a lifeline. Dad buried himself in paperwork, muttering under his breath as he searched for rental listings online. They'd never had to fend for themselves before, not really. Every utility bill, every grocery trip, every repair had been handled by me without question. Now they were drowning in the reality of their own choices. Liam, on the other hand, vanished like smoke on the wind. He didn't say goodbye, didn't apologize, didn't even leave a note. Just packed up whatever he could carry and disappeared into the night. A few weeks later, I stumbled across his new Instagram profile while scrolling absent-mindedly. There he was, sitting in what looked like a co-working space, typing furiously on his laptop. His bio read, "Resilience coach, helping you hustle through adversity." I almost laughed out loud. Resilience? From what? Accountability? Responsibility? The post had 8 likes, including one from someone named CryptoQueen92. I resisted the urge to add a sarcastic comment and closed the app instead. But the real surprise came a month later when Alyssa messaged me again. This time it wasn't about Liam or his messes, it was about me. "Hey Nathan," she wrote, "I just wanted to say thank you. What you did, it inspired so many people. Including me." Her words caught me off guard. Inspired? Me? All I'd done was set boundaries, protect myself from further exploitation. But Alyssa insisted. She told me how she'd finally left her toxic relationship because she realized she deserved better. How seeing me stand up to my family gave her the courage to do the same. Then came another message, a friend request from Kelly, one of Alyssa's close friends. Her note was simple but powerful. "A lot of us have Liams in our lives. We needed to see someone win." Reading those messages hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't thought about my actions as anything more than survival, but now I saw them differently. Maybe this wasn't just about me breaking free, it was about showing others that they could too. Meanwhile, life moved forward. With the house sold and the proceeds invested wisely, I accepted Alyssa's job offer in Seattle. It was a fresh start, a chance to build a life completely unburdened by the past. The city welcomed me with open arms, or at least it didn't demand anything from me. No random Venmo requests, no guilt-laced dinners, no fake family meetings ending with, "You should really help Liam more." Just silence. Beautiful, liberating silence. On my 3rd day in Seattle, I sat in a small cafe downtown, sipping coffee and staring out the window. My phone buzzed, a notification from my banking app. Out of habit, I opened it, half expecting to see yet another withdrawal request. But there was nothing. Just my balance, steady and untouched. It struck me then, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight anymore. Not financially, not emotionally, not mentally. For the first time in years I felt light, free. And yet, despite the distance, memories of home lingered. I kept a framed copy of the eviction notice in my desk drawer, not out of spite but as a reminder. A reminder that boundaries aren't betrayals. That walking away doesn't make you evil. That saying no can save your life. As I sat there watching strangers pass by outside the cafe window, I realized something else. My family would never understand why I did what I did. To them, I'd always be the villain, the selfish son who turned his back on his family. But to me, I was the hero of my own story. And sometimes, being the villain in their narrative is worth it if it means finally becoming the hero in yours. The Seattle cafe buzzed softly around me, a comforting hum of strangers living their lives, untouched by the weight I once carried. My laptop sat open on the table, but I wasn't working. Instead, I stared at my banking app, scrolling through transactions that no longer included random withdrawals or guilt-laden requests for just one more favor. The screen showed only my name, my balance, my life. For so long, I had been someone else's solution, a silent ATM, a backup plan, a financial crutch. But now I was free. It struck me then like the first breath after surfacing from deep water. They never loved the real me. They loved the version of me that made their lives easier. The reliable one, the responsible one, the one who never said no. And when I stopped being that person, they called me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. But those words didn't hurt anymore because I understood something profound. Boundaries are not betrayals. Walking away doesn't make you evil. Saying no can save your life. I reached into my bag and pulled out the framed copy of the eviction notice. It rested there quietly, a relic of the past, yet still alive with meaning. To some, it might seem petty to keep such a thing. But to me, it was a reminder, a talisman against complacency, against forgetting what it felt like to carry everyone else's weight while neglecting my own. People ask me sometimes if I miss them, the holidays, the family barbecues, the illusion of togetherness. I tell them the truth, I don't miss the family. I miss the idea of family. What I had wasn't love. It was debt wrapped in guilt, conditional loyalty with strings attached. I don't miss it, not even a little. And yet, despite the distance, memories linger. Occasionally I'll catch myself thinking about Liam, still hustling, still pretending, still chasing dreams he refuses to fund himself. His Instagram posts grow fewer, his followers dwindling. Last I checked, he'd rebranded again, Financial Freedom Coach. The irony makes me smirk every time. But here's the thing, I'm not angry anymore. Not at Liam, not at my parents, not even at the system that let this happen. I'm just done. Done carrying the burden of their choices. Done sacrificing pieces of myself for people who wouldn't do the same for me. Done playing the role of the hero in their story when all it ever did was turn me into the villain. Because here's the lesson I've learned, and it's one I wish someone had told me years ago. Being the villain in their story is worth it if it means finally becoming the hero in your own. I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair, watching the rain streak down the cafe windows. Outside, the world moved on, people laughing, arguing, living. None of them knew my story and none of them needed to. This wasn't about them. It was about me. For the first time in years, I felt whole. Not perfect, not healed, but whole. And maybe that's enough. Hey everyone. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Your support means the world to me and helps me keep creating more awesome videos. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey.